I am going to watch all of the rugby and drink all of the beer this weekend, and I cannot wait. And I'm sure you guys are going to too. So today I'm going to break down all of the upcoming Autumn Nation Series matches, and we're going to go through a couple of the other internationals because there is a lot of rugby this weekend. So I'm going to give you what games to watch, what games you can probably miss, and a little bit of a rundown on what else is happening all around the world. My name is Shanair and welcome to this week's All Things Rugby preview of the upcoming internationals. So we're going to start with the big games. We're going to start with the Autumn Nation Series, the Quilter Nation Series, as obviously you've seen the sponsor everywhere this week. I'm also going to give you my predictions of what I think is going to happen, but we're going to break down a little bit of the games and we're going to go through kind of any players to watch. There's probably going to be a lot of rotation in some of the games as well, so some names to look out for across the games. So after under-delivering in Chicago, getting a red card within a couple of minutes and really blowing their chance of it taking the big scalp for the week, Ireland will be getting another chance to run out, this time at home in Aviva against Eddie Jones's Japan, who unfortunately are just not worth watching at the moment. And I've said it, and this is the game that if you're going to miss this one, because I don't see Ireland putting out a full straight unless they have a point to prove after Chicago. But again, even if they do and they come out 40, 50 points up, what's the point? No one will gain from that. It's kind of what we said about Scotland last week playing tier 2 teams. I just don't see how even a second string Ireland will be able to give Japan any inroad. I just think they're better coach, better players across the board. And even though Japan, we've seen when they played the tier 2 nations, and even when they played against Australia a couple of weeks ago, looked okay in the wet and the rain, I just don't think they're going to be able to get close to Ireland this weekend. So we're going for an Ireland win by a lot. Next up, we have what I think is going to be the funniest match of the weekend, because Scottish fans are convinced, after not playing any decent teams in the last couple of years, that they're going to be able to do New Zealand at Murrayfield, where New Zealand's lose even less than they do at Eden Park. So I honestly, whether it's Finn Russell playing at 10, whether they have all of their Lions back, whether it's Darcy and Duan on the wing trying to get tries, this New Zealand team is epic. And at the time of recording, they've just released their team and they're going for Quinter and Leicester Nguku in midfield. And that is going to be outrageous. And you can just see Leicester running it straight and just getting through time after time. And up front, they've got even more firepower. The back row is stacked. They brought Karefi onto the bench as well. So, yeah, we're going New Zealand by at least 2 scores to win at Murrayfield. Sorry, Scotland. Back to England and HQ, as this time Fiji are the opponents. And we saw pre-World Cup Fiji put an awesome display on against a very undercooked, unenthusiastic England side. And there's been a lot said about the atmosphere at Twickenham last week. Apparently they're doing a big light show to kind of get everyone going. But what they really need to do is just give everyone as much Guinness as possible and hope that the crowd get behind. But I think England will rotate. I think England will go for a speedier backline. I think they will go for less of a kicking game, to be honest. And I can see them running it and really trying to get the crowd going. And I just think that they'll do that very well against Fiji, who are coming in off a Pacific Nations Cup win, but haven't really played together. They've only got a squad together recently. And I don't know if everyone is over from France yet, but there is some players that have been playing well out there, don't get me wrong. We have seen the likes of Wanakolo tear it up for Leon on the wing, but I just think this England team has got too much going at the moment. They've won 8 in a row. This will be 9 leading into the game against the All Blacks being 10. So I think there's a lot to lose for England, and I just don't see them slipping up. So we're going by England at least a score. Over to Italy, and I know I gave Australia a lot of stick last week in my review and at the end of the Rugby Championship, but I do feel like they've under-delivered so far, and I just think that actually getting into Italy, Joe Schmidt's going to get that team together and go, lads, we're not losing this again, as we saw a couple of years ago when they went over there. And as good as Italy can be, I just think Australia on the day, we saw in Test 2 and 3 of the Lions, they can turn it on. And I think we're going to see a big Australia performance. And we're going for Australia by at least 2 scores against Italy in Italy. Now, outside of the World Cup, everyone talks about Six Nations, Rugby Championship. But this weekend, we get the winner of the Six Nations last year, France, at home under the lights against the winner of this year's Rugby Championship and the current back-to-back world champions, South Africa, in which hopefully will be the biggest game of the weekend. At the moment, Rassi hasn't announced his team. By the time this comes out, we might see it. So I'll be in the comments commenting on that. But France have just announced their team, and that backline is phenomenal. Garrick, Intermac, Fiku's back, Bielberry one side, Pinot the other, Ramos at the back. That is outrageous. But this is South Africa. This is the back-to-back world champions. This is the back-to-back rugby championship champions. This team is so stacked. And like, if they play Pollard and Reignite and they go for a kicking set piece game, I think they come out on top. If they play Grant Williams and Sasha and go for a running game, I think they come out on top. I think their bench is going to be too big that when they come on, whether it's 40, 50, 60 minutes time, I think the Boks in the second half are going to real put the pedal down, and I'm going for a Bok win. I do think it'll be tight. I think France at home are very good. We've just seen England go above them in the world rankings as well, so they will be wanting to kind of get that win as well. But yeah, I'm going by the Boks, less than a score. And the last game on Sunday, all by itself, and I'm sorry, I'm probably not going to give it the airtime that some of you might want, but it's Wales versus Argentina. And yeah, I just don't see Wales getting close. I know England did well in Argentina over the summer, but I just don't think that Wales are going to have enough, whether Reece Zamit's back or Reece Carey's up front. I just don't think they're going to have enough to take on this Argentina team that, if they have everyone back that has been playing well in France, in the Premiership, you know, they undercooked in the Rugby Championship as well, so they got a point to prove. I think that Argentina are going to come out and absolutely smoke them, which for me, I think is a good game for Argentina, because they've got to go to Twickenham and face England at some point, which will be a good game as well. So I think Argentina by at least 3 scores over in Wales. Sorry, Welsh fans. Now, the other games that are happening this weekend are a few internationals, a couple of, I don't want to call them friendly games, but there's a couple of A sides and a couple of 15 sides, so XB sides, with England playing and Australia playing and New Zealand playing. So let's break down those games and see which ones I'd recommend watching. After coaching the Barbars last week, Pat Lam is back at Bristol this week, taking on an Argentina 15 on Friday night. Really random, yes, but obviously with the Prem losing a couple of teams, you can see that the teams within the Prem are trying to get a little bit more game time, a little bit more cash through as well. So Bristol will be hosting a Friday night game. Here's an Argentina 15 team that, again, I don't know how much they're going to be able to bring to this table, but what is good is that they're going to be able to blood a lot more talent preparing for the 27 World Cup. So expect a loose game, expect the ball to be thrown around. If you're in the Bristol area, by gosh, get a beer, head down to Ashton Gate, should be a good one. After getting their pants pulled down last week in Scotland, USA will be going over to Georgia, and if they think they had a tough time tackling Scotland, well, I don't know what they're going to do when these Georgians come running at them. So Georgia versus USA, again, I don't see anything but a Georgian win. I'd love USA to start actually playing some rugby, but based on what we saw last week, I just don't see them getting close. So let's go for a big Georgia win at home against the USA. With the beautiful backdrop of Bath Cathedral, England A will be taking on a New Zealand 15. Now, we saw New Zealand 15 last week against the Barbars. It was a bit of a messy game, and you could tell Barbars has been on the piss all week, and there was loads of knock-ons and drop balls. New Zealand 15 came back in the second half, and we saw like the likes of Harvey Lee playing. There's some decent players in that team, but England A are stacked, and there are so many players in that team that want to put their hands up and get a call up to the senior squad, whether it's Jamie Blair at hooker or whether it's Noah Kalori who's getting the start. There's some phenomenal talent in that England A side. They've got a great coach in Mark Mapletoft as well, who kind of went through the academy stuff, used to be at Quins. I just think that's going to be a statement win for England A. Over in Europe, Portugal will be hosting Uruguay, which will be quite an interesting one. We saw Portugal really fall off after the 2023 World Cup, and even in the Rugby Europe Championship, like, they just don't look like the side that we all fell in love with over in France in 23 against the likes of Fiji and Australia. But Uruguay, again, like, need the competition now going into the World Cup in 27. I think Portugal will probably be too strong. Again, their players are playing at such good standard in Pro D2 and across France anyway, that I like to see Portugal get a win. I don't think Uruguay will let them have it all their way, but if you're going to tune into a match or you're going to second screen a match, this might be the one that you just keep on the phone in the background. unless you're a complete rugby nose, you won't even know the next game is going on. But Romania will be taking on Canada in Romania. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Canada, the women got to the World Cup final. The men's side of the game is very different. Now, they did have an okay Pacific Nations Cup. They got a win over America, but so could my local team at the moment. So I don't really know whether this game is worth anyone's watch. If you're a Rugby Europe fan, you want to see how Romania will get on, by all means, flick it on. But I think Romania will be pretty comfy winning this one. Last game on Saturday to watch, Ireland A will be going to Spain to get a game. And this is a bit of an interesting one because a couple of months ago, we saw Ireland take not necessarily an A team, but, you know, a second string first team over to Portugal and absolutely dominated. And I think we'll see a pretty similar team with obviously the senior team having a game. There's a lot of good players that didn't necessarily make that first team. So I think that Spain, even though they've got 10 professional players now and they've given out contracts and they've got people coming back to Spain to play, I think whoever Ireland A put out, they're probably going to be far too dominant and along their professional journey way further than the Spanish. So Ireland A by a lot. And just in case you haven't had enough rugby, the final World Cup qualification tournament is happening just over the road in Dubai with 2 games back-to-back at the 7th Stadium. So if you're around golf, get a quick flight over to Dubai because it is a great place to go and watch some rugby. The first game of the afternoon in a back-to-back schedule over there will be Samoa taking on Brazil, which we expect the Samoa win. Brazil got called in after Paraguay got disqualified for fielding ineligible players, which... And in this day and age, I don't know how you managed to do that. But yeah, Samoa off the PNC probably should run away pretty easy with this. They've got a stacked team. Jacob Amonga's moved to 15, so expect him to get the ball in some space as well. So that should be a good one to watch. Straight after that will be Belgium taking on Namibia, which will actually be an interesting game for those that have been following Tier 2 competitions. Namibia are a very, very good team when it all comes together. They have so many players that play decent level around not only Namibia, but South Africa, some in the Currie Cup as well. We saw them a couple of years ago in the World Cup. And Belgium, by their standards, underperformed in the Rugby Europe Championship. So that should be a tight contest. Again, is probably one for the purist. But if you are in Dubai, make sure you get down to the 7th Stadium to watch those 2 games. And just in case you haven't had enough rugby, the last game I'm going to talk about, which is a very special game, is the 7-4-5 game taking place on Saturday afternoon, which is a hybrid game between Rugby League and Rugby Union, where I'm pretty sure the rules are in the attacking half, you're only going to get 6 opportunities to run the ball. So you've got loads of players from both League legends and Union legends coming back together to help M&D community, both for Ed Slater, Doddy Weir Foundation, Rugby Foundation, and also obviously sad news of Lewis Moody recently getting diagnosed as well. So if you're in the area, make sure you get down to the 7-4-5 game. And I think it's going to be streamed on TNT as well. So if you get a chance, flick that one on. So those are my predictions for the weekend. There's some absolute great games to watch and a couple that you can probably flick past. But I've given you all of my predictions. Make sure you drop yours down in the comments and make sure you tune in next week to see whether I was right or not. And obviously I was probably right. So you can give me some abuse in the comments if I'm not. My name's been Shanair. Thank you for tuning in to All Things Rugby.